the next webinar in our Insurtech series. Today, I am thrilled to present to you some very important people at Gain Life, a leading Insurtech brand with a cutting-edge claims automation platform, Jarvis. Gain Life leverages behavior science to build software platforms that humanize claims processing to help people recover from injury and return to work faster. First, I'd like to introduce Chief Executive Officer of Gain Life, Dave Merrill, to the panel. Dave is a seasoned executive with over 30 years of progressive experience in claims and insurance cost containment. He previously founded and was CEO of CoventBridge Group, the world's largest insurance fraud abatement agency. Dave is a married father of 5. Dave, thanks so much for joining us today.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
And next we have Julie Fetherman, the Chief Client Officer with Gain Life. She has almost 25 years of sales and sales leadership experience in the workers' compensation industry, developing strong relationships and leveraging creative strategies to help payers and companies drive revenue and achieve their goals. Happy to have you, Julie.
Thanks for having me here, Nicole.
And last but certainly not least, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the co-founder and Chief Science Officer, Dr. John Peters. He has over 30 years of experience as a strategist and researcher in disease prevention and health promotion. He worked for the Procter & Gamble company across multiple business units, including healthcare, food and beverage, new business development, sustainability, and regulatory. And in one of his roles, he managed global safety surveillance for the portfolio of P&G products. He also holds an appointment as professor of medicine at the University of Colorado. Welcome, John.
Thanks. It's great to be here, Nicole.
And before we dive in, I just wanted to remind our audience that you can feel free to put any questions in the chat for our panel. And also, if Insurtechs are of interest to you, next month is the Insurtech Connect conference in Las Vegas. So I encourage you to check out the RISE website for details on discount rates. I'll be attending and I hope to see you there. All right, let's go ahead and kick it off. John, it's my understanding that Gain Life came from Harvard University's Innovation Lab. Tell us about how Gain Life got off the ground.
Well, in the startup industry, it's not unusual for companies to start in one place and end up in another. And that's the story with Gain Life. So we actually started as a health promotion company. So we built a software platform that was designed to help people adopt and maintain healthier behaviors to prevent disease, things like losing weight, to control diabetes, to ward off metabolic syndrome. And we had a good business, and we were doing business, both business to consumer and business to business. And interestingly, we were at one of our large potential clients, and we had made a presentation to them about serving their employees with this platform. And they came to us and they said, have you guys ever thought about leveraging some of what you have here for things like disability and workers' compensation? And we said, no, we hadn't thought about that. So we decided to do a little bit of research and found that the whole industry of workers' compensation, where we started, really didn't have a lot of tech that was being helping enable injured workers and/or adjusters to better manage the process more efficiently to better outcomes. There was a lot of legacy software, and it wasn't really doing what software is able to do today. So we decided to make a pivot and move out of health promotion into claims management, but with the same kind of focus, which is looking at the problem through the eyes of the users of the software. And in this case, it would be both injured workers, in the case of workers' compensation, and adjusters, the people on the end who are talking to the injured workers, trying to help them manage through the claims process. So when we did that, we weren't by ourselves. I mean, we did hundreds of interviews with everybody in the stakeholder group, including injured workers, the claims adjusters, their managers, employers, who were the people that employed the injured workers. And then we talked to industry experts, people like Peter Rumanier and Bill Zachary. We had our own advisors, people like Steve Ostrega and Mara Donahue and other people that are in the industry, just to learn about what are the pain points, where can we best leverage the capabilities of technology to overcome those pain points. I mean, when you think about it, you get injured at work. Most people are not expert in workers' compensation, especially if you're an injured worker. You may have been injured once. Well, what is this process? What should I expect? Do I get paid? What happens to me? There's all those questions and stress that builds up, and you're not familiar with that process at all. And so we were trying to build a software platform, the injured worker facing part, that would help them to understand, what is this? What can I do? What happens next? When do I get paid? All of those things that are top of mind that create stress. We tried to relieve what we call cognitive load, which is a human condition. And it's sort of like the RAM in your computer. It's the things that you can keep going at the same time without losing track. And humans have a limited capacity. It's called working memory. It's how many things can you do at once? And so when you're injured and you're trying to figure out, where do I go get medical help? What do I do about my family? How do I pay my bills? All these things are building up. You don't want to worry about, well, what do I put in this box on the form that says X, Y, or Z? So we built a platform that can pre-fill those forms in for you, do all of that work for you, electronically sign. So we take away a lot of the cognitive load, as we call it, that would be ordinarily associated with this process, so that you can concentrate, as the injured worker, you can concentrate on getting better. So you can do the things that you're responsible for doing: getting medical treatment, following the doctor's orders, getting physical therapy if you need it, making sure you go to your appointments, picking up the right medications, doing all of those things. And somebody else in the background, that is the software that we built, can help facilitate all the other stuff that needs to happen to make the process go. And on the adjuster side, the adjusters are managing 100, 200 people at the same time. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they're having to do that really doesn't require a lot of brain power. It doesn't require human power. It's just administrative stuff. If we took that off their plate using a software automation platform, they can now use their human skills to focus on the injured worker and help them through all of the issues that injured workers face. You've heard about the psychosocial issues that tend to slow claims down. Those are the things that a computer can't resolve. Those are the kind of things that require human interaction. And so it allows the adjuster now to focus their talents, the human talents, on helping that injured worker through the process. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of what we were trying to do and the pivot we made from just health promotion to working with injured workers and claims, both on the efficiency of the claim side as well as the human connection, and kind of understanding a little bit about human motivations and what drives them, that we can build into the platform to make it more approachable. And we called it Jarvis. That's a little take from the Iron Man movies, where the artificial intelligence that helps Tony Stark do everything can be in the background, not to take over from the claims professional, but to sort of make them into like an Iron Man. So it sort of helps them out and assists them to make them into superhumans, if you will. So that's the intent, and we're well on our way to bringing that to the market.
Thanks for that. I was actually wondering how it got its name, so I appreciate that tidbit. And for those that may not be familiar with GainLife or the Jarvis platform, can you tell us about this valuable tool, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think John did an incredible job kind of outlining and laying out, what some of the key features and points are. You took away some of my lead-ins. I was going to talk about Jarvis, but John is right. We thought to ourselves, if Tony Stark could save the world 3 times over as Iron Man with this virtual assistant chirping in his ear all the right moves to make it all the right times, why couldn't we build something like that for injured workers and the claims professionals that support them? And it's not just an automation and communication application. What we've built is a truly holistic software that puts the injured worker at the center of their claims experience and actually monitors the claim's health in real time, so that claim stays on the right track. Would you like to see a couple of screenshots I put together?
Absolutely.
Kind of help to see it all. All right. Can everyone see my screen here?
I can.
Okay, I'm going to try to make these a little bit bigger for you. And so the first thing you'll see is, first of all, a couple things to keep in mind is that you can use Jarvis without any IT integration. As John had said, one of the pain points we found that the industry does run on a lot of legacy technology. So we built Jarvis so that you can integrate via SFTP or API, or you can actually use Jarvis without any integration, and all of the activity that happens is directly routed back into your claim system through a central repository, fax, email, or phone number. And so this is the first screen. And what you see here is just a really simple sign up for the injured worker. They receive a text link, which you'll see here, which is completely customizable by the client. They receive a secure tokenized link where the injured worker can just click on it. They're taken to their onboarding here in Jarvis where they create their own password. And then here we give them a quick tutorial of what Jarvis actually is. I'm showing you here a simulated iPhone, and that's because most of the injured workers who use Jarvis do prefer to use it on their mobile phone, but they can also use it on their laptop or tablet. Let me go to the next screen. Sorry about that. I'm having trouble getting over to that next screen. There we go. And so an intuitive dashboard, we wanted to make it really easy for the injured worker to have all of their claim information in one spot. So you'll see here we have the insurance company. This could be the TPA or the employer, that claim overview. So what type of claim, when did that claim occur? What's the claim number? When did it, is it open, closed? We have some action items to complete here, some documents and details. You'll see there's an appointment created in here for the injured workers, so they know exactly where when their next appointment is, and they can review those details. They have their team contact information. And so really quickly, they can message or call their adjuster or a nurse case manager, supervisor very quickly. They can also text directly from their SMS messaging with their claims professional. And all of those texts that are the injured worker is sending actually is received by the claims professional as an email. So the adjuster never has to leave their email to be able to text back and forth with the injured worker. And again, here's some medical information, some billing facts. We just want to give the injured worker as much information to really feel like they're supported 24/7, 365. And so there aren't any concerns if they're not able to reach their adjuster. They have all the answers here in their app. Here we have some preference-based messaging, and this is really cool because it allows the injured worker to connect with the claims professional very quickly through texting, but also in the preferred language of that injured worker. So we can translate into over 100 different languages, and as you'll see here, the adjuster can completely communicate with the injured worker in their language. They can type in English, and Jarvis kind of takes that information and translates it in the background and sends it back to the injured worker in their preferred language. And so it really helps to reduce the need for translation, or if you need to speak with the injured worker, you need to communicate quickly about different items, you can do that in a very quick manner. Expectation setting, John talked about this earlier, but injured workers, most of them haven't been through the work comp system before. So it's really important for optimum results to really set the expectations at the beginning. What are they going to go through? Who are all their players on their team? What is their role? And so we offer these resources. There's a guide to workers' compensation that's in their onboarding, and our research shows that injured workers actually go back and review this particular resource on average 3.5 times during the course of their claim. So even with the best relationship between the adjuster and the injured worker, it's just a lot of information coming at them. And so it's really important to be able to have this type of information where they can go back and check and see what's happening. Again, what to do before there's medical information, billing information, pharmacy information. Maybe they're at the pharmacy and they don't have their card yet. We're able to provide their RX PIN number, their PCN number, so they're able to get the medications that they need timely. They can instantly view and sign documents. The clients that we have that are using Jarvis absolutely love this feature, as do the injured workers. And John touched on this earlier in terms of kind of taking some of that cognitive burden away from the injured worker. Depending on the integration type that we have or the information that we're given when the claim is input in Jarvis, we're able to fill out over 95% of that information for the injured worker. So you guys know these forms can be pretty complex. The language can be difficult to understand. So the injured worker can just quickly on their phone go in and review the document, fill in anything that they need to, e-sign, click that they do consent to the use of electronic signatures, and then hit submit, and that document, signed medical author release form, any kind of state documents, TPA documents, even read-only documents, that is automatically sent back into your claim system or back into your email inbox. And again, 2 to 10 times faster than industry average is what our clients are receiving with these documents. And so you're also saving money and time by eliminating that snail mail where you can. We have an automated support monitoring feature, and this is where Jarvis starts to act like that of a digital assistant, and we're able to check in on that injured worker preemptively. And these messages can be completely customizable, but this one is asking, how optimistic are you about returning to work? You can ask how their relationship with their claims team, their claims adjuster is going. You can check in to see how their last appointment went, if they need anything. Are they struggling getting to appointments? Do they need help with transportation? And John also talked about psychosocial questions, and WCRI just posted a study on the importance of early screening of psychosocial issues going on at the beginning of a workers' comp injury. And so we provide a questionnaire that the adjuster can send out to the injured worker at the beginning, just trying to get a quick baseline hit of where their mindset is about their recovery and if there's anything that they need help with. Again, that information is sent directly back to the claims system or to the adjuster's inbox or both. And so that way the adjuster, the claims professional, knows exactly what's going on with that injured worker and what type of attention they need to direct to that injured worker immediately. We also offer supportive psychosocial resources, and these are evidence-based resources that we can serve up in response to those questions answered by the injured worker. So if they answered that maybe they were struggling with fear and anxiety, we could serve up this evidence-based resource written by our team of 4 PhDs in conjunction with an occupational medical provider, or they can go in and they can read these as a magazine. But again, we're just trying to help solve the issue for the adjuster and give the injured worker the support they need at the time they need it. We also have a jurisdictionally specific database of workers' compensation FAQs. And so with Jarvis knows the location, the state that the injured worker lives in, we're able to answer questions about treatment, questions about if you can play with your grandkids, jurisdictionally specific questions that the injured worker, may be laying in bed at night, scratching their head, wondering about the answer to. We don't want them to get on Google and do their own, spiraling into their own black hole in that regard. And so that's another feature that we offer here. Oh, here it is. Here in detail is the FAQs. So again, when can I go back to work? Some of them are jurisdictionally specific, and then some of them are more general. But oftentimes the injured worker might not be able to get in touch with their adjuster. And so this is a way that they can alleviate that uncertainty. Easy medical management, John touched on appointments. Injured workers can actually add their own appointments, and that information can be shared immediately with the adjuster, or the adjuster or nurse can enter appointments in for the injured worker. Again, just helping them mitigate missed appointments and being able to see when the appointment is, see appointment reminders downloaded into their phone calendar. We also offer appointment guides, and maybe this injured worker doesn't have a nurse on the file, or the adjuster needs specific questions answered by the injured worker's provider. This is a guide where they can go in and ask those questions, type in the answers, and again, submit that information immediately to you so you're able to review and make important claim decisions. And then wage loss, this is something we can state in the application as well. Obviously, one of the biggest questions I think that claims professionals get often is, when's my check coming? And so this is information that you can actually have ready and at their fingertips as well. And that is the end of those features. I did want to point out too really quickly that Jarvis is a progressive web application. It's not an actual app that the injured worker has to go and download. Our research showed that injured workers didn't want anything to touch their data and storage. And so that's why we built it in this lightweight way. And it's similar to scrolling Instagram for 2 minutes or playing Candy Crush. So it really doesn't touch their data and storage, and really easy to use.
Okay, thank you, Julie. And so, John, can you tell us briefly about the process of identifying the need for this feature, developing it, and then finally implementing it? You're on mute there.
Yeah, I do that a lot. So, yeah, I think, so this is a platform. It's as Julie described, a whole bunch of features bundled into one. But I think this all stemmed out of, our mantra is research. I'm a researcher, so that's my background. But the point is, you want to make sure you're understanding the pain points that people are experiencing through their own experience, really. So we do a lot of sort of workflow observing. We look at what people are doing. So take an adjuster. We observe what they're doing. We're not just talking to them. We're actually looking at what they're doing, sitting with them and identifying, wow, why did you do that? And a lot of people, they develop habits to overcome barriers, and they become automated habits, and they don't even know they're doing them anymore. So if an adjuster was using sticky notes to track different things, you have 100 sticky notes on their screen and on the walls around their computer monitor, and you're wondering, well, why on earth are they using sticky notes to do that? We could have a feature that actually does that for them. And so it's, and they didn't think it was a problem because they had already managed around that issue and they're doing their job just fine. And so the idea is the research needs to be more than just asking people, what are your pain points? It's trying to observe and then asking questions about things that they're doing to understand why they're doing them and understanding, well, what's the best way to solve that problem if it is indeed a problem? So many times software companies develop absolutely wonderful things that are nifty things that it's really a solution in search of a problem. And so we wanted to make sure we understood the problems and then develop the solutions. So everybody's got one of those fancy digital cameras that does 7,000 things and they use 3 of them. Well, it's really the idea of like, well, did you need all 7,000 for you? No, I needed those 3, point and shoot. So that's how we sort of looked at everything through the lens of both the injured worker and what their experience is. And we talked to dozens of injured workers about their whole experience from beginning to end, identifying what were the things they liked best, what were the things they hated the most. And it was really eye-opening, as well as we talked to the adjusters about what are the things that really get in their way. And, one of the biggest frustrations was obviously communication. They have a hard time getting in touch with people, and it's phone tag. And if you have 100 or 200 people you're trying to manage, doing phone tag is really not very efficient. And so finding ways that you can continue to communicate with them and get meaningful information back and forth without that need for phone tag is a big one. And then Julie mentioned something that we use to look at a claim longitudinally, which is to check in with people at random intervals frequently to find out how they're doing. And, you may feel fine on day 1 or day 2 and not think things are too bad. But after a week and you find, wow, this injury is going to take longer to recover than I thought, now things start to crop up that are starting to create other issues in your life that you hadn't anticipated on day 1. Well, the claims manager or the adjuster may not be talking to you for another week or so, but you might need help right now. And so this automated check-in feature, which has a fancy scientific name called ecological momentary assessment. It just means we're checking in frequently in the context of your everyday life to find out where you are, where's your head at, how things going, do you need help, what can we do? And that not only helps potentially solve problems, be like a canary in the coal mine for a claim that might be going off track, but it can also just serve as a way to make the injured worker feel like somebody out there cares for me. Even if it's an automated system, I'm not out of touch, right? Nobody forgot about me. And that's really important. So that's really one of the biggest things that we wanted to make sure we did as we built this software, was to make everything user-friendly to the point of, I understand why as a user, this is helping me out. It's really looking at life through their lens. Most software in this industry was built to serve the industry. It was built to serve the insurer. This is the information we need, let's go get it. And it wasn't necessarily designed to make the experience delightful on the part of the person who needs to provide the information. So,
Yeah.
And that's not a ding. It's not a ding, it's just the way it evolved.
Yeah, that was the part of it that was super appealing for me when I decided to come over, was the duality of constituencies that the software served, and it solved problems for both the injured worker and the claims professional. And having lived in the claims professionals world, to John's point, our experience has been throughout history that claims professionals live in their voicemail boxes, and they're difficult to get a hold of, and they the time spent where they could be impactful as a person and professional is spent doing statutorial and administrative work and returning phone calls that they got 2 or 3 days ago. And so solving for those problems certainly impacts their life and their ability to do their job in a more efficient and impactful way. And then I came out of the most sort of conflictual side of the claims experience. And so to see, in my 30 years doing this, I've seen a lot of trends where the tone of adjusting and administrative claims has become less adversarial and more humanistic, and solving for some of these problems on the work comp side in an empathetic and humanistic fashion, or the more forward-thinking approach these days. And certainly, I think young people who are looking to get into the claims market are certainly more oriented towards empathy and humanistic responses. And certainly more than I was probably at 22, coming out of college. So the problems it solves and the ways that it solves the problems for the injured worker, combined with the problems it solves for the claims professional, creates it's just a unique approach and service, and it also does it across 6-7 dimensional features as well. So it's not just a texting solution or a document retrieval solution or an EMA solution. It takes all of those features and solves them for both ends of the line there. And it's just for me, coming out of a services world and into a software Insurtech world, and being able to do those things on an automated basis that increase the level of humanity in the process of administrating claims, while also creating efficiencies from an administrative standpoint, was a super exciting proposition, and it's just a no-brainer for the insurance services community. Moving forward, it just it makes a lot of sense. And in my experience since being here this year is that there's a pent-up demand for it. People want to treat people with respect and empathy. People want to be able to do the things that are important to them in their job, where they can actually move the needle in an impactful and personal way for the people that and stakeholders that are involved in their processes. So it really is the future of claims. I'm not saying that we've solved all of the problems in one piece of very clever software, but we're certainly pointed in the right direction, and there's clearly a commercial market for it that is very exciting for us, and we look forward to solving problems in other insurance verticals that share some of the similar features: communication, document translation, understanding the needs and requirements of the people that are impacted by having to make a claim, which is not a unstressful experience. So it's we're doing good work here, and for both sides of the equation. So that's why it was especially exciting for me to join.
Yeah, and I think
about advocacy in the insurance industry, and that's really what we're trying to bring to life, is what does it mean when you say advocacy? And it's I think I tried to point out that it's really looking at things through the lens of the user and what are their needs. But our whole approach to building this software is built off a broad theory of human motivation, of intrinsic motivation, called self-determination theory. And without getting into the weeds, there are 3 major components: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy means that people are given agency. That means you want to be in control of the decisions. You want to be in control of your life. And we've seen that so much with what's going on in the country today with vaccines and everything else. Nobody wants to be told what to do. They want to be able to decide on their own what to do. Competence is really having the ability to, really the skill to do whatever it is that's needed. And that's why we take some of that stuff that you only need to do once in your life, like fill out this weird form for medical authorization. you can take that out of the hands of the person and do it for them. Relatedness is all about caring. It's both feeling cared for and caring for others. Humans are social creatures. They need to feel like they're connected to something. And so creating a relationship, whether it be with a human being or with a virtual human being, which is software, everything we do is written at the 8th grade level. It's written in plain common language. The person who helps us copyright this is somebody who's been through workers' compensation, so they've experienced it. And it can be written in language that doesn't use all of the, we'll call them dirty words of the insurance industry, things like, denied and things like that, where people don't want to, those are not friendly words. It instantly sets up a wall between you and the injured party. So you want to make sure that you're talking to them in an empathetic tone and in a way that's engaging and, kind of showing that we care about you. We want you to recover and get back to work as soon as you're ready.
And I would just touching on what Dave and John both said in terms of, answering the original question too about, outcomes and what are we able to say around that? And we're really excited about the data that we're getting back from our clients. We've been out to market for a little over 2.5 years, and we're seeing almost 60 to 75% engagement with injured workers, meaning they're clicking on this link and they're taking actions within Jarvis, whether that's sending a message or a document, managing appointments, looking at those resources. 8 out of 10 injured workers really like using Jarvis, and 9 out of 10 adjusters are saying that Jarvis actually makes their day-to-day work life easier and that it's really simple to use. I think I mentioned the industry average 2 to 10 times faster in terms of sending and receiving important documents. So all the things that we've thoughtfully put together through research and, with an advocacy-based approach, being empathetic, we're really starting to see these rewards manifest in the actual engagement within Jarvis from both the claims professional and the injured worker side.
Okay.
We've done,
and go ahead, John.
I'll just say, a lot of people ask the question, well, what's the return on investment? If I pay for this, then what do I get for it? But everybody wants to know kind of what's the ROI. And, without getting into the weeds on that, there's at least 2 parts to that. There's an internal ROI, which is how does it improve the efficiency and productivity of your systems, which we talked about in terms of what Jarvis can do. But the bold, hard numbers of it are, it's a long-term process to determine ROI, because you have to be very careful to make sure that the people you're comparing, when you're saying, well, this person used Jarvis and this person didn't, you want to make sure you're comparing apples and apples so that the cases that you're comparing are similar. And so that takes a lot of data. And, we did a comparative effectiveness analysis with one of our large clients, looking at comparison of people who are using Jarvis versus people who were enrolled in the program, meaning they signed up for Jarvis, but they didn't do anything in Jarvis. So it's the most conservative comparison. So we're not biasing the outcome by virtue of some sign up kind of quirk. So these people signed up, but they didn't use it, versus people that did use it. And we found for medical only claims, we had about a 25% savings on the final cost, which is about $360. So, that's the way we had to do it, because, we had enough data where we could actually match people in one group versus another to make sure that we were matching apples and apples and not apples and kiwis.
I like kiwis, John. Listen, the other important part of understanding the value proposition of Jarvis is we do have this study that demonstrates an ROI of almost 10 times the cost of the service on the medical only cases. That's on an allocated loss expense basis only. Doesn't take into effect the efficiencies on an unallocated basis, how your top performers, adjusters, are now able to use those soft skills and humanistic skills, rather than spending time and experience that they've gathered over years filling out forms. They're able to perform those things that are more important more frequently, and you get more value from those. And we view Jarvis on an unallocated basis as being a force multiplier. Now we haven't committed a formal study yet, as John has said. Getting ROI requires, in doing it correctly rather than just doing it commercially to be able to make a claim, but actually doing a scientifically relevant study on efficiency would take a lot of work, and we endeavor to do that. But our hypothesis is that Jarvis is a force multiplier because it handles so many things that would normally take your time, that are that are administrative in nature, that don't require a lot of your soul and your brain. But anyways, we believe that that's a key feature that does create efficiencies. I did notice a question, and Julie, I didn't know if you wanted to answer the question, but I'll go ahead and take a quick stab at it. That there was a question in the Q&A about whether or not you can pick doctors within apps or have access to the carriers' panels, and the quick answer to that question is yes. It can direct you towards approved physicians, and it can answer questions like, can I pick my own physician based off the statutory requirements? So anyways, so there's really a two-pronged value here. One is both the savings associated with the utilization of the service within the context of the allocated expenses within the claim, and there's also the pickup you get from having less people be able to do more important work, and the value that's created by that.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to ask, Dave, were there key decisions that you made along the way that have led to your success? And how did you navigate those important moments?
Well, listen, I've only been with Game Life since March of this year. So I came out of almost a 30-year career in claims, doing exactly the exact opposite of what Game Life does, which I provided a human service to solve for a problem in the claims ecosystem now we did utilize technology to manage our service capacity, and I thought we had a very clever case management software system. But so when I came out of that environment, I had a strong desire not to manage fleets of people anymore. So at the end of my career, I had my company that I founded had close to 1,200 employees across 3 continents. So there's a special that creates special challenges. Those nicely as I can say it, when you have 1,200 people every day. I sometimes describe our firm as a mistake factory, because anything that can go wrong will go wrong when you have enough people. So for me, getting into the software side of it and taking a more solution-oriented approach, which was automated, to me seemed to be a challenge that was very interesting for me. And having no experience at all in software as a service or in the Insurtech business, really just kind of understanding the bowels of claims and being in the most conflictual part of claims. So having come out of that and come over now to a service that is all about empathy and driving better outcomes through behaving better and treating people well and helping people do things. To me, that was a key decision in taking up this role and investing in Game Life. As it relates to decisions I've made since I've been here, I'm certainly not the most technical person in the company, even though I'm the CEO. So my approach has been, and I think that the key thing that I've brought to the table is understanding how the insurance community buys things and how to appropriately market and commercialize services so that the value is easily understood in the marketplace which we serve, to open doors and to be able to present a solution to key leaders that I've met through my experiences in the marketplace. So for me, it's evolving. It's every day is a new challenge here. So to me, the excitement is working with a much younger workforce than I worked with previously. I said probably my chief qualification for this job is having 4 daughters in their 20s. So that's been very helpful for me, and having a basic understanding of technology and how technology is being deployed now more readily in the insurance marketplace. Listen, there's a lot of tailwinds for the Insurtech community, and particularly for a company like Gain Life, where you can automate processes. You had the Great Resignation that's occurred. All of my friends and clients that exist within the insurance community, they're constantly looking for new talent to develop, new people to enter the marketplace, financial services marketplace. So this is and there's new stuff going on. So it's just not, it's not, when I was 22 years old, nobody woke up the morning of their senior year in college and goes, "Oh, I can't wait to go get a job in claims." So, nobody was saying that. And I came out of school in '90, during the first Bush recession. There was difficult to find a job, and quite frankly, the only job I could find was in claims. And so, I was lucky enough to find a section of that market that I really loved. But this is an exciting time in claims. There are a lot of things going on, particularly on the tech side of it, that I think are that people who are coming into the marketplace and getting their first traction, within their careers, can take and can leverage into careers in insurance, careers in technology, careers in financial services markets. There's a lot more opportunities here, and so to be part of that and be able to mentor our small but mighty group of employees we have here at Gain Life, for me is very exciting, and is why I'm here and what I like to do.
What Dave is saying, Nicole, I thought, back to some of the key decisions, since I've been here for a while, and I'm one of that youthful set of compatriots that Dave is referring to. I think a couple of the key ones were building a platform that did more than one thing. And so we talked about how there's 6 or 7 dimensions that Jarvis can deal with at the same time. And there are a lot of companies out there building kind of unidimensional solutions, which are terrific for that dimension, texting solution or this solution or that solution. But nobody wants to have 12 different apps open on their computer at the same time. You'd like to have one that does all of the things you need to do. That's one key decision we made. Another key decision was really not being afraid to be agile and stop doing something that nobody wanted. It's like, so as a software company, you can build a lot of really cool stuff. And as I said earlier, you can build stuff that's a solution in search of a problem. And so we constantly do research. Even after we do the base research, we're constantly testing things, doing A/B testing and doing testing to make sure that what we've built is actually useful to the people that we built it for. Did we hear them correctly when they said this was an issue? Did we observe them correctly? So I think those are really key things that any software developer should keep in mind, is to make sure they're looking at everything through the lens of, well, who's going to use this? How do we envision them using it? Well, let's get it in their hands as soon as possible, make some mistakes, make some modifications, and keep honing it until it looks like something that they can't give up. So that's been our driving force from the beginning.
Yeah, to answer and to add on to that and answer your question, Nicole, a little more specifically about other things that I think have been decisions that I've led to. is looking at other insurance verticals other than workers' compensation and how we can leverage what's being done to solve problems in workers' compensation, say, also in property or homeowners. So, like, if you think about it in these terms, the only thing probably as stressful as losing your job or having your income impacted is having an 800-year-old oak tree crack through the middle of your roof, right? And you know, or having your car stolen. And so, you know, a lot of the features, the communication features, the document exchange features, the EMA features that bear fruit in the workers' compensation vertical are also highly leverageable in other lines of or other insurance verticals. And, you know, I spent a whole career, 30 years, investigating insurance claims and working insurance claims in every single insurance vertical. So I think I, you know, was able to bring a view to Game Life of like, okay, how does this software and the, you know, the theories behind it and the practical application itself, what problems does it solve in other areas of the insurance industry, not just workers' compensation? And I believe that it's there's quite a few, frankly, and many of the problems that get solved in work comp get solved in other verticals as well, in GL, disability, even long-term care. So setting the tone and strategy for exploring those verticals is probably, you know, one of the key decisions we will continue to make. And as John said, you know, we'll make some mistakes. Game Life, we're not afraid to punt an idea that was bad, and we do have a bias towards action here as a company. So, so yeah, I would just add that as well, looking at other insurance verticals and being able to apply the same expected outcomes and processes to those.
Okay, and can you all speak to the importance of attending industry events to market your services, and how has the industry's receptiveness to Insurtech and more specifically Gain Life changed over time?
I'll speak to the last one. You know, I think one of the most important things for getting Gain Life off the ground was finding the first customer. And, you know, we happened to find a customer who was very forward thinking in the way they were managing claims. And they really wanted to get into this claims advocacy space. And it was interesting because one of their chief claims people thought of his vision for claims management was it's like the hospitality industry. And I always thought of it as sort of like concierge claims management. But, you know, treat the injured worker as if you were, you know, a concierge in a hotel telling somebody, you know, where to get the best meal around here, or where's the safest place to take a walk or take a jog. You know, it's like, we know what you want before you want it, and we're there to provide it. And so they thought of everything they did as sort of in service of making it as easy as possible for that injured party. Anyway, the first customer was key, because as soon as you get somebody using the software and seeing the value, now you have people who can tell other people. And so there's a lot of word of mouth that goes on in the industry. And suddenly you're getting more receptive callbacks when you do the cold calls to people to say, wouldn't you like to see our cool new software? Because it starts to spread, you know, and so one customer turns into 5, and 5 turns into 10, and 10 turns into 15, and suddenly, you know, you actually have a going concern. So the early adopters are really key in this industry. And there are a lot of people that are afraid to, you know, change is hard. And there are a lot of people that are afraid to take the leap and try something that they're not sure about. But as soon as you get somebody to do that and they see the value, then it can spiral upwards from there.
Yeah, I think that's super important, word of mouth. And I think also in terms of the industry networking and our industry events, networking is a huge key component of that, and starting to be able to take some of that word of mouth and what we're doing at Gain Life and meeting new people. COVID was tough on all of us, and I know we're all kind of chomping at the bit to get back out there and be in person with each other. I do think there is a lot of value to that, as John was saying, you know, relatedness. Like, humans want to connect, and so these conferences are a way to do that, to meet new prospective customers, to talk to colleagues and friends, to learn about new ideas, new innovation in the industry. And so obviously WCI is up and coming in Orlando next week. So Gain Life will absolutely be there. We'll be on site doing some demos. And John is actually speaking on a panel with several key industry thought leaders on Monday. And then we'll also be attending several other conferences. Later this year, we'll be at WCRC in Dana Point. We'll be at Comp Lottie, and we'll be at National Work Comp in Vegas. And so I do think industry events are key. I think networking locally in your areas are key. And for anyone, looking to get into Insurtech, we're lucky. We have, we're demoing software, and the world is now more used to, or the world is very used to Zoom, I should say, and virtual meetings, where post or pre-COVID, that wasn't the case. It was much harder to get someone to use this platform, a virtual platform for meetings. So I think we've taken some valuable lessons from that, and we're able to demonstrate and have sales presentations and do a lot from home and virtually, but there's nothing like being in person and being able to meet people and truly connect to.
Couldn't agree with Julie anymore. I mean, over the last 2.5 years have been probably the most miserable part of my career, just because my whole career was built around relationship building, trust, equity, getting to know people, engendering goodwill through doing what you say you're going to do. And that certainly happens with greater efficacy in front of people than over a computer monitor. So we're delighted to get out. And I think as restrictions start to wane and the market starts to reset to a new normal, that we're going to see a tremendous advantage in being able to display Gain Life in person to potential buyers.
Nicole, what you're doing here with Rise is so important too, offering webinars like this that highlight innovative companies in the industry and tech and what's going on is another really valuable resource to all the attendees, but to us as a tech company and to the people that you serve in this industry. So thank you for taking time and putting these webinars on. They're really valuable.
Absolutely. I'm happy to. And what advice do you all have for somebody that's looking to get into the Insurtech space?
Well, I think the advice is do your research. Really identify the problem that you're trying to solve through the lens of whomever it is you think has the problem, and really do your research. And don't just restrict it to asking about what are your pain points, because most people don't think about life in terms of pain points. You might think of a few, but it's much more revealing to observe their behavior and to really understand how they're trying to do their job, or how they're trying to cope with their injury and their life circumstances. And that's the lens through which you learn about what you could do to help solve that problem by using technology. Technology isn't the solution to everything, but it sure can help. And as Julie was saying, it can sort of expose the points where the human connection is absolutely required, but it can allow you to focus on that human connection as opposed to wasting all of your time filling out regulatory documents or something else, as opposed to having a conversation with the injured worker and building the trust that you need to make sure they're going to actually follow all the advice they're getting and feel good about getting back to work as soon as they possibly can.
Absolutely. Yeah, that trust is so important, and a little bit of kindness goes a long way. And Dave or Julie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think having a deep understanding of your subject matter is important, because it's hard to create solutions for problems you don't understand. So, don't be afraid to leave a job in claims and take a job on the tech side. Believe in yourself. That's for me, that was the big leap. And I left a position where I'd done just about everything I could do in my space there, but understanding that you got to understand the ecosystem of claims. I think if you're going to make a contribution in Insurtech, I always say find the right person to work for too. If you know somebody that's in the space and you have an admiration for them, or they are a giver, a mentor, someone that you trust and believe in, that people work for people, not for companies. So if you're really interested in the space, find the right person and attach yourself to them. I mean, in a very direct way, that's how I would answer that question. It's important to have people in your life that you can get answers from and that you can give answers to. And that's, I would not have made it where I made it without asking a lot of dumb questions from people who looked at me with one eye. Kind of like, why'd you ask that question? But so don't be afraid to reveal your lack of experience, and because that's how you get smarter and move along and find the right people to associate with.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about humility. And I'm looking here, I don't see any additional questions. Just as a reminder to the audience, we have the Q&A feature as well as the chat. And are there any final thoughts that you all would like to offer up, as we have about 3 minutes left?
I was just going to offer that I'm going to put my email in the chat. If anyone has additional questions for either myself or for John or for Dave, or if you're interested in seeing a live demo, you can easily reach out and we'd be happy to assist in any of that manner.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Anybody on the calls going to WCI or any of the events Julie mentioned, feel free to tap us on the shoulder and say hi. And thank you for your time, Nicole. We appreciate you putting this together, and we certainly are. It was our privilege to be able to be part of this process.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your insights, and to our audience, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. Please be sure to subscribe to Rise if you haven't already. That way you can stay tuned to our future events and future webinars.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I think I don't see any other questions in here, so I think we can go ahead and end the webinar.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much.